Welcome back to Tokyo Ghoul Anime Review. This is episode number 16. This is reviewing the 16th episode of the anime, it's also known as V Left Behind, also known as Mementos. Now, looking up exactly what chapters this episode was quite difficult because the page I normally go to didn't exactly say it, so I had to basically do a little research exactly what chapters this episode adapted. And it looks like it adapted chapter 83 and 94 to about 96. I gotta say the pacing was a lot better with this episode. Like, oh gosh, yes, the pacing had tremendously improved. And I gotta say, they didn't. I mean, they toned on some stuff here and there. They changed minor stuff here and there, but it looks like they kept a lot of stuff in. As a matter of fact, if you look at the episode, the way it ends, it covers an entire chapter in the span of about 4 minutes. Yeah. Because the ending of this episode, it's kind of like the way it is with Black Clover, where the ending of a particular episode, like it was today, where that covered, the ending of that basically picked up where 2 episodes back. This is kind of the same thing. I don't know why, it's really weird. Yeah, but it's kind of done out of order. Because most of this episode is just wrapping up the Aljuri Tree massacre stuff on this storyline thing. Yeah, most of the Aljuri Tree is pretty much killed off throughout this whole entire episode. Well, for this whole operation. And you see a fight between Armand. Yeah, he shows up at the end of the last episode. Yeah, he comes back. And, of course, Akira, I think her name is. Yeah. The woman he has a thing for saves her life. And though he looks like he kind of stays behind at the end. I think. Also, the Gourmet Ghoul shows up. Yeah, it's always great to see this guy. He shows up and he's in the episode for a good, 5 minutes, and then he's sick, and then he just disappears. Yeah, the pacing was a little quick here and there, but it wasn't as bad as it was last week. Yeah, this one did kind of go all over the place, but it covered like several different areas. I mean, it covered the battle on this island, covered this scientific facility. Yeah, I'm not sure what else this episode adapted, but it looked like it didn't adapt very much. Not as much as the past few episodes have been with adapting like 9 chapters. This one didn't seem like I looked it up. I had to look it up basically at the read up online. And it looked like this only thing like about 4, maybe 5 chapters at most, which is probably the first time since episode 2 they've actually done a very small amount of chapters. Yes. I mean, if they got to 96, it means there's not much to go. Excuse me, and it looks like they also kind of started to do at the end of this episode, just prior to the credits. It looks like they're about to start. It looks like they got to like the first couple pages of chapter 84. That's the way it looks when they ended. I mean, there's various battle. Well, there's battle with Tatsuya. Yeah, that wraps up in this episode. The battle in the lab, that looks like it kind of continues. Nowaki. Great to see this guy. It looks like this kind of wraps up partially, but it seemed like this battle's been going on for 2 straight episodes. This looks like it's going to conclude anytime soon. And of course, there's the aftermath of the Kaneki versus Armand, the Kaneki's mentor. Mm-hmm. Amra, yep. So yeah, I think it just covers 83 and 84. So yeah, this kind of ends with his death. And then, of course, you also have kind of the start of the next chapter, 85. And that's really kind of like toward the end of the thing. But yeah, not much. But I gotta say, definitely, like I said, pacing is tremendously improved for this episode. I mean, yeah, some of the cuts they do between scenes, kind of the hard cuts, are a bit noticeable in here. But it doesn't distract me at all. It doesn't take away from the story. I mean, yeah, you got to cut between several different locations, at least in this episode. Mostly, but they weren't like cutting back and forth on a constant basis. No, it was more like we stuck with this particular scene for about a few minutes, and it cut here, not like every single set cut here, here, here. Yeah. In the case of last week's episode, we kind of got something like that. This one basically was a lot better when it comes to editing. Yeah, the editing for this episode was tremendous improvement over last week's episode. Mm-hmm. What else? Oh yeah, the one of the 2 female members of Kaneki's squad, she's found and she's traumatized. And of course, Yorkie finds out what's going on in her, and that's a bit of that. Also, Psycho gets, that's really her name, Psycho. That's what I call her in the dub. I'm calling her that anyways. Cute little girl. Yeah, she has a conversation with Armand, and she asked him why did he save her, and he said because it was the right thing to do, and she was kind of shocked at that, but it's perfectly understandable why. I mean, I'm sure he probably didn't want to kill her, and I'm sure he probably had no choice but to fight the CGC. He could have told him, "Hey, I'm a former investigator for the CGC." Yeah, but it was nice of him to evacuate the woman he loves away from the scene. Yeah, they actually have a thing for each other, and a little bit later on, they do get together, and they walk off. Not seeing it again toward the end of the series. Mm-hmm. The way it looks for next week's episode, it looks like they're going to wrap up the whole thing with the battle, with the whole, let's say, stuff with the prison, and it's going to be the start of the Black Goat organization, the group that Kaneki starts. Yes, in this series. Yeah, it's kind of good they brought this group in because they're basically an alliance of like a jury tree, the clowns, the employees of the coffee shop Kaneki used to work for, and a little bit the CGC, working together to find peace and harmony, which is a great organization. I think the organization was still around by the time the series concluded. Yeah. This overall was a pretty decent episode, and like I said, tremendous improvement. And Kaneki really didn't do very much. I mean, yes, I'm glad they finally showed him in this episode after last week's episode didn't show him at all. I think it's no reference to him at all, and yet the last week's episode was basically his squad participating in the Tokyo Ghoul version of D-Day. This episode kind of wrapped it up because this particular thing started back at the start of episode 13, and it finally wrapped up 4 episodes later. Yeah, it's kind of weird though that they actually didn't do anything with it. It's like you see this beginning of episode 13, and then there's nothing for this until last week's episode. We finally continued this stuff, and of course, this stuff was wrapped up anyway. So we're gonna see start of the Joey Tree, and probably gonna see a lot of chapters adapted for next week's episode. So my personal guess is they're probably gonna get past finally chapter 100, which means there probably is not gonna be that many chapters left to go. They still have not adapted chapter 59 yet. I don't know why. It's particularly bizarre of why they skipped over this chapter. I've not heard an explanation for this at all, but it's kind of weird that they skipped over this chapter because when episode 12 ended at chapter 58, not chapter 59. So I don't know why they chose chapter 64. It was really weird. Okay? Yeah, and pretty much in about just 4 episodes, they've already covered about, I'd say almost 40, I'd say almost 40 chapters in just 4 episodes. That is a lot. And it looks like this one, they're kind of basically adapting stuff they skipped over in the past couple episodes. That's what kind of looks like to me anyways. But yeah, that's really it for this particular review. There's still about, I think it's the top 10 thing I could probably do that today, the one for dub act I'm going to do. And Raidmaster, probably not. Probably expect that review for that probably tomorrow at best. Okay? But until the next review, bye.